He is president, he is CEO, he is director of Abitibi Royalties, and he is also the first guest at Kitco's PDAC 2020. Welcome, Ian Ball. Happy to have you here. Look, I just want to start before we get into it, because there's a lot to cover, because we haven't talked to you in a while, is just what is going on with these markets. We've had a rude start to the PDAC. We had one of the worst financial market drops since 2008. Right. We had also the drop with precious metal prices.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on right now?
Well, it's clearly a case of the return of the curse of the PDAC. It's just this year it's a day early. Usually it gives us a week after. But what we saw in the markets, if it wasn't one thing, it could have been another that set off the market. But when you look at the gold price and how it reacted, it's actually very similar to 2008 when the market was going down. Gold initially went down with it, formed a base, and then started its run up to the all-time high. So we probably saw a little bit of that on Friday.
I like to have you on because you have a lot of different ways of actually looking at the market. Let's talk about peak gold. Let's talk about what is actually talking about resources, because you hear from a lot of mining companies that the resources are not going to be there anymore because everything is getting more remote, everything's getting mined out. You have a different view.
I do. I don't think we're at peak gold. If you look at peak oil, that's been going on now for 30, 40 years, and oil production's at an all-time high. So when you look at China as an example, it was nowhere in terms of gold production in 1980. It's now the largest gold producer in the world, and not one major mining company is operating in that country. So it just kind of shows you the untapped potential there for growth. You look at the processing plants, they're getting bigger and bigger, which is driving down the grade that we can profitably mine. And you look at the industry's very good. Look at the oil and gas, how you bring new technologies in that allows you to mine gold that was previously uneconomic. We keep finding more, so I don't think we're at peak gold.
What is the state of innovation in mining right now?
Well, I wish there was more innovation coming into mining. We are seeing small incremental steps. What I would think in the next 5 years, what I want to see a big push on is electric haul trucks. And you can get away from diesel, and not only is it more environmentally friendly, but it should drive down the cost of open pit mining on a per ton basis. But we haven't seen huge steps in that direction, but I think that would be one. And I think longer term, I know Barrick has been working with the concept of in situ leaching for gold. And you say, well, how can you leave with no disturbance? And so I think mining has to keep moving, but the steps we're making now I think are rather incremental.
You don't mention the buzzword that everybody says, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning.
You know what? There's certainly a place for that. I have no doubt about it. It's a trial and error process. I've certainly been involved with that, and I've seen it work very poorly because poor data in, poor data out. But there's certainly room in that area to advance, and I think that it's going to help mining, not only in exploration, but I think overall all of the sector for processing and selling the gold. But I think it's still not there yet where the model is very predictive.
What are the impediments to actually getting innovation? What is it? Is it just inertia?
We're a boom-bust industry. When things are going well, why do you need to innovate? Yeah. And when things are bad, there's no money for innovation. I think what you need to do, though, is set up innovation teams around your operating team, because it's very hard to operate a mine and also be innovative at the same time, because you almost have to be completely focused on your task. So that's why I think if you have the budget, you should have an innovation team that's helping your operation team. Don't force your operating team to always be the ones who are innovative, because their hands are usually pretty tied or full. Their agenda's full.
Last year was a big year for mergers and acquisitions. It's supposed to be carrying through in 2020, where like the intermediates and everybody's talking about you are supposed to get bigger because that is what is actually going to attract. You have some concerns about mergers and acquisitions, and you say that there's some real pitfalls and they only work rarely well.
Yeah, if you look at the history of mining, when do mergers and acquisitions work? Typically when there's a re-rating in the acquirer's stock for whatever reason that may be. Two, there's actually operating synergies. If you look at Barrick and Newmont doing the joint venture in Nevada, there's real operating synergies to be had there. So an M&A opportunity may provide that as well. Or third, you'll see that the acquirer's team has some skill set that they could apply to the asset they're buying and enhance that asset. But just going out and paying a 30-40% premium and you're not adding anything to the equation other than size, it's going to be taken out of your share price. And our industry has proven to be more on that side of the equation, but you are seeing, you look at Equinox Gold, and they did the zero premium merger. You look at Barrick and Randgold, the zero premium. It has to be good for all shareholders. It can't just be good for the acquirer's shareholders, and you're starting to see the industry move in that direction, which I think is a very good thing.
Lastly, let's catch up on Abitibi. Can you tell us about what's been happening at the company?
Well, in 2019, we declared our first dividend, and so that was a bit of a milestone for the company. We increased that dividend by 25% in the month of January, and now we're paying it monthly. So we want to return capital to our shareholders in that way. We have not been finding as many opportunities within the royalty space as we would like. As the gold price has been moving higher, people have been turning to other forms of financing. So, and that's understandable. And then thirdly, we've seen real, growth at the Canadian Malartic mine in terms of the underground potential there. The resources have been growing quite nicely. And so we're waiting to see how that's going to impact Abitibi long term in terms of its cash flow profile.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Ian Ball here at PDAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you.